I'm not telling this story to look strong. I'm telling it because at 64, I almost disappeared. My name is Margaret Lewis. For most of my life, I was invisible, useful, polite, and replaceable. That morning, I didn't know it yet, but everything was about to change. The diner smelled like burnt toast and cheap coffee. Same smell every day. Same cracked tiles. Same customers who thought money gave them permission to talk down to people like me. I tied my apron slowly. Arthritis in my fingers made even that small task hurt. I looked at my reflection in the stainless steel counter, gray hair pulled back tight, lines on my face earned honestly. Just survive the shift, I whispered. Then I saw him. He stood near the door like he wasn't sure he was allowed to exist there. Late 50s, maybe early 60s. His coat was clean but old, shoes polished out of habit, not wealth. He didn't look homeless. He looked defeated. "Good morning," I said out of reflex. He nodded. "Ma'am, I know you're not serving yet." I already knew where this was going. "Sir, if you're asking for food." "I don't want trouble," he said quickly. "Please, just listen." His voice wasn't begging, it was embarrassed. "I have a job interview tomorrow," he said, "with someone important." I raised an eyebrow. "Important how?" "A shareholder." That word didn't fit him. "Not dressed like that." "I need a suit," he continued. "Just something decent. And I was hoping you might—" He hesitated. His jaw tightened. "Lend me $100. I stared at him. "And if I don't?" I asked. "What then?" He didn't dodge the question. "Then I lose my last chance." People lie with their mouths, but fear? Fear lives in the eyes. "Name?" I asked. "Thomas Reed." I sighed, reached into my purse, and pulled out the money before my brain could argue. "Buy the suit," I said. "Nothing else." His hands shook when he took it. "Thank you," he said quietly. "I swear I'll pay you back." I nodded. "You better." He walked away fast, like if he stayed 1 second longer, the moment might break. I stood there wondering if I'd just made the dumbest decision of my life. 2 hours later, Humiliation arrived wearing perfume. She sat at table 7, sunglasses still on inside. Perfect hair, sharp nails, mid-50s, the kind of woman who never waited for anything in her life. "Breakfast," she said without looking up. "Continental or American?" I asked. "Continental." When I placed the tray down, she finally looked. "What is this?" "The continental breakfast, ma'am." "I didn't ask for scrambled eggs. It comes with—" She cut me off. "I don't understand how someone like you works here. You're clearly incompetent." The words landed hard. "I won't allow you to speak to me like that," I said calmly. She laughed. "Then do your job properly. And hurry up. My time is worth more than yours. Yours." "Hurry up," she snapped. "Apologize." "I have nothing to apologize for." She waved the manager over. "Fire her, immediately." The manager hesitated. "That's extreme, Mrs. Caldwell." "Well?" she demanded. He turned to me. "If you apologize, we can forget this." I looked at him, then at her. "I won't apologize for existing," I said. His face fell. "Your job is on the line." I untied my apron. "Then it's not worth keeping," I replied. I turned to Mrs. Caldwell. "One day, someone will speak to you the way you speak to others." She smiled coldly. "You already lost." "Maybe." But I walked out with my dignity. That afternoon, someone came looking for me. "I'm searching for a waitress named Margaret Lewis," a man said. "She quit," they told him. He searched anyway, and eventually, he found me. "Margaret," he said. I turned. It was him, Thomas Reed. "I told you I'd return it," he said, holding out the money. "Just like I promised." I stared at him. "How did you find me?" "Luck," he said with a small smile. I took the bill. "Why did you come back?" He looked serious. "Because you believed in me when I had nothing." I shrugged. "I just did what felt right." He nodded. "When you help someone without expecting anything, life remembers." I laughed softly. "Life hasn't remembered me much." He looked at me like he knew something I didn't. "Sometimes," he said, "the smallest amount of money changes everything." I didn't know it then. But that $100 was the beginning of a storm that would flip power, pride, and justice upside down. The day I stopped being invisible, when you quit a job at 64, people expect you to panic. They expect tears, fear, regret. What they don't expect is relief. I walked home slower than usual that day. Not because I was tired, but because I didn't know where I was rushing to anymore. No uniform waiting, no manager timing my breaks, no strangers snapping their fingers like I was furniture. Just me, and the sound of my own footsteps. I kept thinking about Thomas Reed, The way he'd looked at me when he handed the money back. Like I wasn't just a waitress who'd taken a chance on him, but someone who mattered. That felt dangerous. Hope always does. 2 days passed. No calls, no miracles, just bills sitting on my kitchen table like quiet threats. Then my phone rang. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer. Margaret? A man's voice said, Yes? It's Thomas. I sat down hard. Is everything okay? He chuckled softly. Better than okay. Can I see you? My heart did something stupid. Why? I owe you more than money, he said. I owe you the truth. We met at a small coffee place across town, the kind with chipped mugs and no Wi-Fi. He looked different. Not rich, but grounded, like someone who remembered who he was. I wasn't lying, he said once we sat down. About the interview. I didn't think you were. I lost everything, he continued. Bad investments, trusted the wrong people, cut expenses too late, and my wife. He paused. She decided I wasn't worth the trouble anymore. I nodded. I'd seen that look before. Men abandoned the moment money left the room. She kicked me out, he said. House, car, everything. So why not fight? I asked. He leaned forward. Because I had a plan. That word again. A plan? I repeated. There's a company, he said carefully. One I built quietly. My wife doesn't know about it. I raised an eyebrow. Sounds risky. It is, he admitted. That's why I need help. My stomach tightened. What kind of help? I need someone I can trust, he said. Someone clean, someone she'd never suspect. I laughed. You want me? Yes, I nearly spilled my coffee. Thomas, I'm 64. I worked tables my whole life. I don't know anything about business. That's exactly why, he said. You don't play games, you don't lie, and you helped me when I was worth less than $100. I shook my head. I don't get involved in shady stuff. He lifted his hands. Nothing illegal, I swear. I looked at his eyes. No fear this time, just resolve. Come with me, he said. Just listen. The office wasn't fancy, but it wasn't small either. Glass walls, quiet confidence. A man stood up when we entered. Early 70s, sharp eyes, calm voice. Margaret, Thomas said. This is Walter Hayes. My partner. Walter smiled. I've heard a lot about you. That worries me, I muttered. They explained everything slowly. The company, the shares, the divorce. If my wife sees my name anywhere, Thomas said, she'll take half. She didn't help build it. But the law won't care. So you hide? I asked. No, Walter said. We shift. They both looked at me. You become the visible owner, Thomas said quietly. I laughed. Loud. Nervous. You've lost your mind. Walter leaned back. Legally, she'd own nothing. She didn't invest a dime. And if it blows up? I asked. Thomas met my eyes. Then it's my loss. I've lost everything once already. I'm not afraid to start over. I swallowed. Why me? He didn't hesitate. Because my heart says so. Silence filled the room. I thought of Mrs. Caldwell, of my apron, of being told to apologize for existing. All right, I said finally. But if this goes wrong, I'll take the fall, Thomas said instantly. A week later, I got a call. Margaret Lewis? A woman's sharp voice said. Yes. I'm Evelyn Reed. The name hit like ice. I'm Thomas's wife, she continued. Or what's left of it. I stayed calm. How can I help you? I heard you're close to my husband. I was his waitress, she laughed. That's adorable. Her tone shifted. Stay away from him. I don't tell grown men what to do, I replied. A pause. You think you're special? She said. You think he sees you? I think, I said slowly, that you see people only when they're useful. She hung up. The divorce happened fast. Thomas gave her everything. House, car, properties. No fight, no drama. She smiled while signing. I knew you were hiding something, she said, but I guess I was wrong. Thomas smiled back. Calm. Peaceful. Enjoy your life, he said. I already have mine. She walked out, convinced she'd won. I sat there, heart pounding. You okay? Walter whispered. I think so, I said, but something tells me this isn't over. Thomas smiled softly. It never is. That night, I lay in bed staring at the ceiling. A waitress one week, a company owner the next. I didn't feel powerful. I felt visible. And somewhere deep inside I knew the woman who told me to apologize would soon learn what real power looks like. When the tables started to turn, power doesn't announce itself. It slips in quietly, changes the air in the room, and waits to see who notices. I noticed. Not because I wanted to, but because people suddenly started looking at me differently. The first time it happened, I almost missed it. I walked into the office carrying a cheap tote bag, the same one I used for groceries. No heels, no designer coat, just me. The receptionist stood up. "Good morning, Miss Lewis." I stopped. "You don't have to do that." She smiled politely. "Yes, I do." That word, do, sat heavy in my chest. Inside the conference room, men twice as confident as they deserved to be waited for me to sit before they did. Walter watched quietly from the corner. Thomas didn't say a word. He didn't have to. I learned fast. Not business school fast, life fast. I learned who talked too much, who smiled but calculated, who thought an older woman wouldn't notice details. They were wrong. "Mrs. Lewis," one of them said during a meeting, "with all due respect, this is a bit complicated." I smiled back. "Then explain it better." The room went quiet. Walter hid his grin behind his coffee mug. But power always attracts attention, and Evelyn Reed was watching. She showed up one afternoon unannounced. Same sharp posture, same expensive perfume, same eyes that looked through people instead of at them. She scanned the office. "This place," she scoffed. "This is what he downgraded to." I stood up slowly. "Can I help you?" She turned, confused for half a second, then recognition. "You?" she said flatly. "The waitress." "Former waitress," I corrected. She laughed. "You don't belong here." "I own this company," I said calmly. Silence. Her smile twitched. "That's funny." "It's also documented," I replied. "Would you like to see the paperwork?" Her face tightened. "You think this scares me?" she snapped. "You're a placeholder, that's all." "Maybe," I said. "But placeholders still sign checks." She leaned closer. "You're making a mistake trusting him." "I'm not trusting him," I said. "I'm trusting myself." That stopped her. She left without another word. But I knew. She wouldn't stop. That night, Thomas and I sat across from each other at a small bar. Nothing fancy, just dim lights and cheap whiskey. "She came to see you," he said. "She always does that," he sighed. "Tries to intimidate." "I'm not intimidated," I said. "But she's digging." He nodded. "Let her." I studied his face. "Why are you so calm?" He took a slow sip. "Because I already lost everything once. Fear doesn't own me anymore." I felt that settle deep inside me. A week later, the rumors started. "She's just a front. He's hiding assets. She doesn't even understand what she owns." I heard them all. I didn't respond. Walter told me once, "Let people underestimate you. It's cheaper that way." Then came the call. "Miss Lewis," a cold voice said. "This is Harold Benton, legal counsel." "For whom?" "For Mrs. Reed." I closed my eyes. "Of course it is." "We're investigating potential fraud," he continued. "Hidden assets during marriage." "I'm available anytime," I said calmly. "Everything is clean." A pause. "That's unusual," he said. "I've lived an honest life," I replied. "It tends to simplify things." Meanwhile, Thomas stayed invisible. No emails, no signatures, no trace. It drove Evelyn insane. She wanted a villain she could point to. Instead, she got me. The breaking point came at a restaurant, the same diner chain, different location. I was there for a meeting, coffee, paperwork. A woman at the next table snapped her fingers. "Waitress!" I looked up. It was Mrs. Caldwell, older, same arrogance, same voice. "Tea," she said, "and don't mess it up." The waitress froze. I stood up slowly. "That's not how you speak to people," I said. Mrs. Caldwell squinted. "Who are you?" "Someone who used to wear an apron," I replied, "and someone who won't tolerate disrespect." She laughed. "Mind your business." "It is my business," I said, "and if you don't apologize, I'll personally make sure your bank hears about how their employees treat service staff." Her face drained of color. "You wouldn't dare." "I would," I said evenly, "and I have very good lawyers." The waitress stared at me, eyes wide. Mrs. Caldwell swallowed hard. "I apologize," she muttered. I nodded. "Good." As she walked away, the waitress whispered, "Thank you." I sat back down, hands shaking. Power didn't feel like revenge. It felt like responsibility. That night, Thomas looked at me with something close to awe. "You didn't even raise your voice," he said. "I've had years of practice swallowing words," I replied. "Turns out they come back stronger." He smiled. "You've changed. So have you." He nodded. "Because of you." But storms don't pass quietly. They gather, and Evelyn Reed was preparing hers. I could feel it. In the calls, in the silence, in the way Thomas started watching doors more carefully. Something big was coming, and for the first time in my life, I wasn't going to step aside. She came for everything. People like Evelyn Reed don't lose quietly. They don't accept endings. They rewrite them. And when she realized she couldn't scare me out of the picture, she came for everything. The letter arrived on a Tuesday morning. White envelope. Thick paper. Legal tone. I hadn't even finished my coffee when Walter walked into my office, jaw tight. "She's filing a lawsuit," he said. I nodded slowly. "Fraud? Hidden assets, manipulation, emotional exploitation." I smiled without humor. "She left out witchcraft." Walter exhaled. "She wants to freeze the company accounts." My chest tightened, just for a second. "And?" I asked. "And she can't," he replied. "Not without proof." Thomas stayed quiet, eyes fixed on the window. "She's not after money," he said finally. "She's after control." The investigation was relentless. Auditors, lawyers, private investigators asking neighbors if they'd seen suspicious activity. They found nothing, because there was nothing to find. Still, the pressure worked its way into my bones. One night, I woke up convinced I'd missed something. A document, a date, a signature. Thomas found me sitting at the kitchen table at 3 a.m. "I didn't sign anything wrong, did I?" I asked. "No," he said firmly. "What if she wins?" He sat across from me. "Then we start over, again." I looked at him. "You're not scared?" "I was scared when I had something to lose," he said. "Now I have purpose." Evelyn's lawyer requested a formal meeting. Neutral location, glass walls, air thick with hostility. She walked in like she owned the room. Still perfect, still cold. "This ends today," she said without sitting. "Step aside, Margaret." "I can't," I replied. "This company is mine." "You don't even know what you own," she snapped. "You're a pawn." I leaned forward. Pawns reach the other side of the board all the time. Her lawyer cleared his throat. "Miss Lewis, are you aware that if we prove intent to hide assets—" "You won't," I interrupted calmly, "because there was no intent. There was only timing." Evelyn's eyes narrowed. "You played with the law." "No," I said. "We followed it." She slammed her hand on the table. "You stole my life." Thomas finally spoke. "You left it?" Silence, her face twisted. "You were nothing without me." "And yet," he replied, "I survived." The lawsuit moved forward anyway. Headlines whispered, rumors grew teeth. Former waitress fronts $1 million company. I stopped reading comments. Walter told me I was doing fine. Thomas told me I was brave. I didn't feel either. I felt tired. Then came the betrayal. A board member, one I trusted. "He's been talking to Evelyn's team," Walter said quietly. I closed my eyes. "Of course he has." "They offered him protection," Thomas added, "and money." I laughed softly. "There's always a price." I called the board meeting myself. No lawyers, no speeches, just truth. "If you're here for money," I said, "you'll get it somewhere else. If you're here for integrity, stay." 2 people walked out, the rest stayed seated. That told me everything. The court date was set, 3 weeks. Evelyn smiled for cameras. I avoided them. One night before the hearing, Thomas knocked on my door. "If this goes wrong," he said, "I want you to know." I cut him off. "Don't," he smiled sadly. "You changed my life." I swallowed. "So did you." The courtroom was cold. Evelyn looked confident. Her lawyer spoke first, painted me as naive, manipulated. Then it was our turn. Document after document, dates, proof. Silence stretched. The judge adjusted his glasses. "Mrs. Reed," he said finally, "your claims are unsupported." Evelyn stiffened. "There is no evidence of fraud," he continued. "Case dismissed." The room exhaled. Evelyn stood abruptly. "This isn't over." The judge looked up. "For you it is." Outside, she stopped in front of me. "This isn't the end," she hissed. I met her gaze. "It is for me." She walked away alone. For the first time, she looked small. That night, I sat in my kitchen again. Same table, same chair, different woman. Power hadn't changed me, it had revealed me. And tomorrow, the world was going to see it too. When the world started watching. Victory doesn't always feel loud. Sometimes it feels uncomfortable. The morning after the case was dismissed, my phone wouldn't stop buzzing. Messages, emails, voicemails from people who had never once learned my name when I wore an apron. "Mrs. Lewis, we'd love to schedule an interview." "Margaret, this is a great comeback story. Former waitress turned CEO. Inspiring." I stared at the screen like it belonged to someone else. "I didn't ask for attention," I muttered. Walter smiled. "You earned it anyway." The article dropped that Friday, front page of the business section, "From serving tables to owning the room, how a 64-year-old woman outsmarted corporate greed." The comments exploded. Some kind, some cruel. "She's just a front. She slept her way up. She'll mess it up." Thomas read them once, then shut his laptop. "Don't let strangers tell you who you are," he said. "I spent my whole life invisible," I replied. "Now they can't stop staring." Evelyn Reed didn't give interviews. She didn't need to. Her silence spoke volumes. The invitations stopped coming. The calls slowed. People who once chased her approval suddenly forgot her number. Money loves momentum, and hers was gone. One afternoon, I was invited to speak at a small business luncheon. I almost said no. Then I remembered every time someone told me I didn't belong, so I went. I stood at the podium in a simple blue dress, no jewelry, no power suit. I didn't plan to be here, I said. I planned to survive. The room went quiet. I worked 40 years serving people who never learned my name, and one day I stopped apologizing for existing. Applause broke out. Real applause, not polite. I saw tears in the eyes of women my age. That's when it hit me. This wasn't just my story anymore. After the event, a young waitress approached me. "You don't know what you did for me," she said, voice shaking. I smiled softly. "I think I do." That night, Thomas and I walked past a restaurant downtown. Same chain, different location. Inside, a woman was arguing with the staff. Sharp voice, familiar posture. Evelyn. She snapped her fingers. "I've been waiting 20 minutes. The manager looked tired. "Ma'am, please lower your voice." She turned and saw me. Her face froze. For a second, the world tilted. "You," she whispered. I stepped forward calmly. "Is there a problem here?" I asked the manager. He hesitated. "She's upset." Evelyn laughed bitterly. "Of course you're here, enjoying your little fantasy of power?" I leaned in slightly. "No, just dinner." She scoffed. "You think people respect you?" "They don't have to," I replied. "They just have to behave." Her mouth opened, closed. For the first time, she had no leverage. The manager cleared his throat. "Ma'am, if you continue to disturb other guests, we'll have to ask you to leave." Evelyn stared at him. "Do you know who I am?" "No," he said. "And it doesn't matter." That was it. Her shoulders sagged. Just a little. She grabbed her purse and stormed out. No audience, no applause, just silence. Outside, Thomas exhaled slowly. I never thought I'd see that. I didn't smile. I felt sad. Not for her, for the woman she could have been. Later that week, Walter brought me the numbers. The company was thriving, new contracts, new partnerships, clean reputation. "You did this," he said. "No," I corrected. "We did." Thomas nodded. "And it's not over yet." I raised an eyebrow. "What now?" He smiled. Not arrogant, not bitter. "Now," he said, "we build something that lasts." That night, I lay awake thinking about money, about power, about respect. I didn't want revenge, I wanted balance. And I had a feeling. Life wasn't done teaching lessons yet. The quiet before the choice. Success has a sound. But doubt? Doubt is quiet. It shows up late at night when the phones stop ringing and the applause fades. The office was full. The energy was good. Everyone was smiling, and yet something felt off. I watched people moving around my company like it had always belonged to them. Some days, I wondered if it really did. "Do you ever feel like you're wearing someone else's coat?" I asked Thomas one evening. He didn't answer right away. "Every day," he said finally. The offer came in a plain envelope. No drama, no fanfare, just numbers. Big numbers. A corporate group from New York wanted to buy us out. Full acquisition, immediate payout, enough money to disappear forever, Walter said. I laughed softly. Tempting, but my stomach tightened. That night, I sat alone in the boardroom. The city lights blinked like distant thoughts. I remembered my first day here, hands shaking, heart racing. I hadn't fought this hard just to sell it off. But then again, how long could I hold on? The pressure started quietly, board members asking questions. What's the exit strategy? Isn't this the logical next step? Logical. That word followed me everywhere. Logic never waited tables. Then came the email. Anonymous, you don't belong here. Take the money before you embarrass yourself. I deleted it, but it stayed with me. Thomas noticed. You're pulling back, he said. I'm tired, I replied. He nodded. So am I. Silence settled between us. Not bad silence, heavy silence. One afternoon, a former employee stopped by, an older woman, hands rough from years of work. I just wanted to say thank you, she said. For what? I asked. For showing us we don't expire. Something cracked open in my chest. That evening, Evelyn's name came up again. Not from her, from a news blurb. Evelyn Reed files for personal bankruptcy. I read it twice. I felt nothing. No triumph, no pity, just closure. The board vote was scheduled. 1 week. Sell or stay. That night, I stood in front of the mirror longer than usual. I didn't see a waitress. I didn't see a CEO. I saw a woman who had choices for the first time. And choices are heavy. Thomas knocked on my door later. If you sell, he said, I'll understand. If I don't, I'll stay, he replied without hesitation. I studied his face. You don't owe me loyalty. He smiled. I owe myself honesty. The night before the vote, sleep wouldn't come. I walked through the office halls alone, touching walls, desks, doors. This place had heard my fear and my courage. I knew then. Not what I'd decide, but why. Because this was never about money. It was about refusing to vanish quietly. Morning came, the vote awaited, and with it, the moment that would define everything. The room where fates decide. Boardrooms don't echo, they hold sound. Every word stays longer than it should. The chairs were already filled when I walked in. Gray suits, calm faces, people who had never doubted they belonged. I took my seat anyway. The offer was projected on the screen, numbers so big they stopped feeling real. Let's be honest, one board member said, smiling. This is a once-in-a-lifetime exit. I nodded. Once in a lifetime for who? Thomas cleared his throat. Before we vote, he said, I think she should speak. Eyes turned toward me. I stood slowly. My hands were steady. That surprised me. I didn't build this company, I began. A few brows lifted. I protected it, I continued. When it was invisible, when it was bleeding, when nobody else believed it was worth saving. Silence. You're offering me money, I said, but what you're really buying is control. Someone shifted in their chair. I've been poor, I went on, not just financially, socially. I know what it feels like to be dismissed, overlooked, erased. I looked straight at them. I won't erase myself now. The oldest board member leaned forward. You're saying no to generational wealth. I smiled softly. No, I replied. I'm choosing generational respect. The vote proceeded, hands raised, numbers counted. The final tally appeared. No sale. A breath I didn't know I was holding finally escaped. After the meeting, the hallway buzzed. Some congratulated me. Some avoided my eyes. That was fine. Not everyone walks forward with you. Outside, reporters waited. Microphones flashed. Why refuse such a huge deal, one asked. I paused. For the same reason I once refused to apologize for existing, I said. That quote went viral. People shared it, printed it, tattooed it. I didn't know that yet. Later that night, Thomas poured 2 glasses of whiskey. To staying, he said. To not disappearing, I replied. The call came just before midnight, unknown number. I answered. Her voice was sharp. You think you won, Evelyn said. I didn't respond. This isn't over, she warned. I smiled into the phone. It never is, I said calmly. I hung up. For the first time, I wasn't afraid of her. The next morning, emails flooded in. New partners, new markets, new opportunities. The company didn't just survive, it roared. But power attracts attention, and not all attention is kind. Someone was watching, planning, waiting. I stood by the window, sunlight spilling in. I knew one truth now. You don't outrun the past, you outgrow it. And just when I thought the storm had passed, another one began forming. When the past comes collecting, success has a sound. It's quiet. Too quiet. The morning felt wrong, not bad, just heavy, like the air knew something I didn't. I was halfway through my coffee when my assistant knocked. She didn't smile. That's when I knew. Federal audit team is downstairs, she said softly. They say it's urgent. I set the mug down, didn't spill a drop. Let them in, I said. 5 people walked into the conference room. Badges, files, cold eyes. One of them spoke. Ma'am, we're investigating potential financial misconduct. I nodded. Go ahead, I said. Inside, my heart started pacing. They weren't here by accident. Someone sent them. I already knew who. By noon, rumors were flying. Employees whispering, phones buzzing, stock wobbling. That's how predators hunt. They shake the ground first. Thomas pulled me aside. This smells like Evelyn, he said under his breath. I didn't argue. She never forgives, I replied. She collects. At 3:17 p.m., the article dropped. Waitress turned exec hides millions? The headline was poison. The internet ate it up. Comments flooded in. She's a fraud. Knew it was too good to be true. They always lie. I closed my laptop. I'd been here before. Different room, same judgment. That night, I didn't go home. I stayed at the office. Lights on, curtains open. If they were watching, I wanted them to see me standing. At 11 p.m., my phone rang. I answered without looking. Evelyn's voice purred. Still standing? She asked. For now, I replied. She laughed. Oh, honey, she said. I'm just getting started. I closed my eyes. Why? I asked quietly. You already won. She paused. No, she corrected. You embarrassed me. There it was. The next week was hell. Accounts frozen, deals delayed, partners nervous, fear spreads faster than truth. One board member resigned, another demanded explanations. Thomas slammed his fist on the table. This is a setup, he snapped. I raised my hand. Let it burn, I said. They stared at me. You don't fight smoke by waving, I continued. You wait for the fire to show itself. Then came the betrayal, the one that hurt. Paul, he avoided my calls, skipped meetings. Finally, he showed up, late, eyes shifty, hands shaking. They offered me immunity, he confessed. My chest tightened. In exchange for what? I asked. Testimony, he whispered. Silence crashed between us. I nodded slowly. Did you take it? He looked down. Yes. I stood up, not angry, just clear. Thank you for telling me, I said. He blinked. That's it? That's enough, I replied. After he left, I locked the door and cried, not loud, just enough to remember I was human. The audit findings arrived 2 days later. Clean. Every penny accounted for, every signature legal, but the damage was done. Reputation bleeds longer than money. Then something unexpected happened. A letter arrived. Handwritten. From a woman in Ohio. I watched your story, she wrote. I'm 63. I was fired last year for being too old. You gave me hope. Another came, then another. Hundreds. People didn't see a scandal. They saw themselves. Media tone shifted, headlines softened, then turned. The woman who stood alone. Evelyn called again. Her voice wasn't smooth this time. You turned them against me, she hissed. No, I said calmly. You did tell, she went quiet. Dangerous quiet. That's when Thomas rushed in. Emergency board meeting, he said now. The room was tense. A new proposal on the table. A hostile takeover, funded anonymously. I read the name twice. My breath caught. Evelyn. All in. Everything she had. This was her final move. If this passes, Thomas said, she owns us. I leaned back, looked around the room, faces full of fear. I smiled. Then let's not let it pass, I said. I stood up. One more round, I added, and this time, we end it. The vote was scheduled for morning. I went home that night, slept fully dressed, dreamed of nothing. At dawn, I stood in front of the mirror. Wrinkles, lines, strength. I whispered to my reflection, you didn't survive all this to fold now. Outside, the city woke up, and somewhere, Evelyn was smiling. She thought this was her victory lap. She was wrong. The vote that broke the lie. The boardroom smelled like fear, polished wood, cold coffee, quiet breaths. Everyone knew this wasn't just a vote. This was an execution. Evelyn walked in last. Perfect suit, calm smile, like a woman attending her own victory party. She didn't look at me at first. That was deliberate. Let's begin, the chairman said. My pulse stayed steady. I'd lived poorer than this moment. I could survive it. The proposal was read aloud. Hostile takeover. Emergency clause. Immediate transfer of control. Legal. Clean. Brutal. Evelyn finally turned toward me, a soft smile. You should have stayed a waitress, she said quietly. Some of the board shifted uncomfortably. I didn't respond. Not yet. Thomas leaned in. Are you sure? He whispered. I nodded. Let her talk, I said. Evelyn stood. You all know my history with this company, she began. I helped build men like him. She pointed vaguely, and women like her benefited. Her eyes locked on mine. I'm offering stability, she continued. Experience, protection. She paused. Not charity. Applause followed, polite, nervous. I waited. Before we vote, I said calmly, I'd like to submit one item into the record. The chairman hesitated. Proceed. I clicked the remote. The screen lit up. Not numbers, not charts, emails. Gasps rippled through the room. Evelyn stiffened. These, I said evenly, are communications between Evelyn and 3 shell investors. I clicked again. Bank transfers, dates, amounts. Funds moved, I continued, after the audit began. I turned to the board. That's obstruction. Evelyn laughed sharply. You're bluffing. No, I replied. I'm documenting. The chairman leaned forward. Are these verified? Thomas stood. Yes, he said firmly. Independent forensic review. Silence hit hard. Evelyn's smile cracked. You planned this. No, I said. I survived this. She stood abruptly. This is revenge. I shook my head. No, I corrected. This is consequence. Then came the final card, the one I hated playing. I pressed play. A video filled the screen. Paul, recorded testimony, sweaty, pale, honest. She threatened me, he said on screen, offered immunity if I lied. His voice shook. She wanted control, not justice. Evelyn screamed, "Turn it off!" No one moved. The chairman exhaled. "That's enough." He looked at her. "This vote is suspended pending investigation." Evelyn snapped toward me. "You think you won?" I met her gaze. "No," I said softly. "I think you lost." Security stepped forward, not touching her, just present. A message. As she walked out, she leaned close. "This isn't over," she hissed. I smiled. "For you," I replied, "it is." The room stayed silent after she left, like a storm had passed. The chairman cleared his throat. "Miss Hart," he said, "do you wish to step down during the review?" I shook my head. "No," I said. "I'll stand." He nodded. "So will we." That afternoon, the news broke. Hostile takeover blocked. Fraud investigation launched. The tone was different now, respectful, careful. By evening, my phone buzzed nonstop. Messages from strangers, support, stories, gratitude. One text stood out, from an unknown number. "You showed me how not to bow." I saved it. At home, I finally sat down. Shoes off, silence loud. I thought of the diner. The apron, the way people looked through me. Power doesn't change you. It reveals who always hated you having it. Thomas called. "She's finished," he said. "Is she?" I asked. "She's being charged." I closed my eyes, not in relief, in release. Later that night, I poured a glass of wine. Didn't drink it, just held it. I thought of one thing Evelyn never understood. You can take money, you can take houses, but when you take dignity from someone who's rebuilt themselves, they become dangerous. I stood by the window, city lights blinking like witnesses. Tomorrow, I'd face the press, the shareholders, the future. But tonight, I let myself feel it, the weight lifting, the fear leaving. I wasn't the waitress anymore, but I never forgot her. She was the reason I won. Outside, the city slept. And somewhere, Evelyn finally realized, this time, there was no comeback. Then, the quiet that meant everything. The press waited outside like wolves, cameras ready, questions loaded. They wanted drama. I gave them truth. I stood at the podium the next morning. No flashy suit, no forced smile, just me, 62 years old, still standing. "Yes," I said into the mic. "I was once a waitress." A pause. "And no," I continued, "I'm not ashamed of that." Murmurs rippled. I leaned forward. "What should shame us," I said calmly, "is how we treat people when we think they have nothing." Silence, the good kind. A reporter shouted, "Do you feel vindicated?" I shook my head. "No," I replied, "I feel free." That clip went everywhere, millions of views, not because it was loud, because it was honest. 2 weeks later, Evelyn was indicted. Fraud, obstruction, coercion. The same woman who once looked down on everyone now sat very small in a courtroom. I didn't attend. I didn't need to. Some endings don't require witnesses. The company stabilized, stock recovered, employees relaxed again, smiles came back to the hallways. Thomas stopped by my office one afternoon. "You know," he said, "you could finally slow down." I smiled. "I didn't fight this hard to sit still," I replied. Instead, I did something unexpected. I announced a new initiative, Second Start Program, hiring people over 55, retraining, mentorship, ownership opportunities. The backlash? Minimal. The support? Massive. Turns out America's full of people who were told they were too old. They just needed one door reopened. One evening, I went back to the diner. Same smell, same cracked booths, different me. The young waitress looked nervous when she saw me. I recognized that look. "I'll have coffee," I said gently. "Black. No rush." She relaxed. As I paid, I slipped an extra bill under the cup. She noticed. "You don't have to." "I know," I said softly, "but I want to." She smiled. Real smile. That was enough. Later that night, I sat on my porch. Quiet street, crickets. A life earned, not borrowed. My phone buzzed. A message from Paul. "I'm sorry. I'm trying to be better." I typed back, "That's all any of us can do." Forgiveness isn't forgetting. It's choosing not to carry poison anymore. I poured myself tea, sat back, thought about everything. Here's what people don't tell you. Rock bottom isn't the worst place. Staying there is. Losing money hurt. Losing love hurt more. But losing my sense of worth? That almost ended me. Until one day, I helped someone with nothing to gain, and life took notes. Power doesn't come from money. It comes from knowing who you are when everything's stripped away. I stood up slowly, joints aching, heart steady, looked at the stars. "I did okay," I whispered. Not rich okay, human okay. The next morning, letters arrived again, from all over. Stories, thank yous, people saying I thought it was too late for me. I wrote back to one woman, 71, recently laid off. I wrote, it's only too late if you stop believing you matter. That's the lesson. That's why this story spread, not because of revenge, but because dignity won. Some people climb by stepping on others, others rise by lifting someone once. Guess which one lasts longer? I closed the door behind me. Not dramatic, not loud, just final. I wasn't a waitress anymore. I wasn't just an executive either. I was proof that kindness isn't weakness, that age isn't expiration, that helping the right person at the right moment can change everything. And if you're listening to this, wondering if it's too late, let me tell you something. Straight up, it's not.